the storm, where the heavy hearts are one. A voice unheard, a soul reborn. Strong but silent, the weight they bear, breaking walls in the open air. Strong but silent, truth is clear, let it out. We're always here.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode 7, in fact, of the Strong but Silent Men's Mental Health Show. With me, as always, Alan Andrzejkowicz, and we have special guest in the house tonight, one of my old buddies from the Wildfire Radio days, Frankie Donahue, hopping on with us. Frankie, thank you for being with us, my brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I'm really excited to have part of this conversation.
Awesome. Glad you're here.
Yes. So we tonight our main topic is emotional numbness, causes and coping, which I know a lot of folks out there that I've seen in my life and kind of going through things that ended up getting emotionally numb to a lot of things. Just because of life, man. Life can kind of beat you down and get you into those spots where it's tough. It's tough to emotion. It takes a lot out of you. Whether it's happy emotion or sad emotion, whatever it is, it takes a lot out of you. And some folks, to cope, just get emotionally numb. Let's start it off here. When we say emotional numbness, and Alan, I'll kick this one to you first. What does that actually mean in real life, at least to you?
To me, it's being shut down, withdrawn, quiet. You're not really putting your best foot forward. Maybe maybe you're going through something. You're dealing with stress, anxiety, and it's an easy mask to put on of just numb. You don't show happiness. You're not showing sadness. Everyone thinks you're fine, and you never have to say, yeah, I'm fine, I'm okay, because no one asks. That's what I kind of feel like emotional numbness is.
All right, Frank, I'll bounce this one off of you. How is emotional numbness different from just being calm or laid back? Because I know a lot of calm, laid back guys that are emotional, but like, what's the difference between that, in your opinion?
So, like, my baseline generally is just like the same, right? I'm just like calm and like I don't overreact or underreact to things. But when I have my numbness, right, and it's nothing that triggers it normally. Like it's nothing that like something's happening in the world. Like I'll wake up and I just am numb, right? Like I just don't. I'm detached from everything, and for me, it lasts usually more than a week or two, and I'm just kind of like people notice it. Like my family notices it, right? Like my wife and my son, my coworkers notice it. It's different because like there's not so when you're just kind of like going through you're just laid back, there's a certain calmness about you, but when you're numb, there's almost like a blankness, right? It's almost like you don't even have that calm personality. You just got nothing. Like you're just a flat line, right? Like you're just blank behind the eyes. And to me that's the difference. It's like even though you're calm, you still have emotion, right? But when you're numb, nothing phases you, right? And that's the difference to me.
Yeah, you're almost like on autopilot.
Yeah. Yep.
Just going through it.
Yep.
So for me, when I get to that point of being emotionally numb, at least for me, I'm such an easy read. I've always worn my heart on my sleeve, so I'm a very easy read. Whether I'm pissed or I'm happy, or I'm sad, I'm an easy read. So when I go emotionally numb, I'm not left out in that space for very long before the people that are close to me will question me.
Right.
Because I'm so easily readable. My face is I've been told for years What's wrong? Nothing. Well, you have a face. Well, yeah, I know I have a face, and I'd be a smartass about it. But in the same sense, it's the truth, and there is something wrong. I'm just when I get that blank expression or that blank stare, which doesn't happen. Excuse me, which doesn't happen very often. I'm the person that tends to get called out on it because I'm like a Labrador retriever, very excitable, like a puppy dog, or but all my emotions are very high and low and very animated. So that's that's me for sure. Alan, why do you think so many men struggle to even recognize they're emotionally numb? This is a good one.
Ah, man, dude, it happens to me. Dude, you get so overwhelmed with just life in general, um, and before you know it, um, you're just numb to, I think, the minor things. Not even the minor things, even the major things. Like, you have so much going on that your defense mechanism is, well, I'm just not going to let any of it bother me. Like, I have to put this out of my head, out of my mind, because if I let it bother me, I don't know what I'm going to do. It, I don't know, man. Emotional numbness is tough because it'll come in spurts where you have days where you want to be left alone. You don't want to talk. You don't want to conversate. You don't want to do anything. But you don't even know what you're going through. You might not even be going through anything, but you're going through something in your head. If that makes sense to you guys, where you're just battling. You're battling yourself. I think ultimately.
Frank, I'll ask you when you get emotionally numb, like you said, since your baseline, like you said, is you don't get too high, you don't get too low. Your loved ones around you, are they very kind of in touch with, hey, you got something going on, or is it because your baseline is so even keel, it's harder for them?
No, they know. Like my wife will often say to me, "What's wrong? What happened?" Like she'll know just by she can tell the difference, right? We've been together long enough where she knows when something is a bit off with me, and I'm like, and I can tell her like she doesn't like push me, but I can tell her, I say, "No, I just woke up and this is how I was today, right? Like nothing triggered it, nothing. There's nothing extra going on that it's just this is just how I am right now, and sometimes I can pull myself out of it, right? And I don't know if you guys do this too, but like, and and it's hard because sometimes it actually feels good, right? To kind of just be in that space where like, because nothing bothers you, it's not it sucks because you're numb and like you don't want to physically be there all the time, but like sometimes it's an escape from like the everyday pressures of stuff because you don't need to like stress over it because you're just not able to at that moment, right? And sometimes I'll sit in that for a little bit, right? Like I'll feed into it more, like I'll listen to like music or something that keeps me in that space for a little bit just so I can like have a bit of escape from the normal anxiety, depression, all of that stuff. I'm like, you know what? I'm numb and it's not a bad thing necessarily for this moment, but sometimes I'll sit in it, man. But um if I sit in it too long, I'll get called out on it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
same thing would happen to me, and it's obviously, full disclosure on the show, I talk about pretty much anything in my life. I was on anti-anxiety and anti-depression medication for several years. It all stemmed from my daughter, when she was 3 at the time, had a seizure, and I never saw anyone taking a seizure before, and I was the one that found her in the middle of the night. And so in my brain, I thought I was watching my child dying, essentially, and that just sent everything haywire upstairs. And I started hearing, I'd be at home alone and I would be hearing the same noises she was making while she was having a seizure. And then I ended up having to go to a doctor, and they told me that it was PTSD. And I'm like, no, isn't that for like people in the armed forces and police officers and firefighters and EMTs, and they're like, no, regular everyday people can get it too if something traumatized you. And so they put me on anti-anxiety because it shot my anxiety through the roof, and antidepressants because I got real numb after that, and like scary. Like it really, really freaked me out. And I still to this day, I've stopped. I've gotten off the antidepressants because after several years, I didn't like what they were doing to me. Um, not that they were changing me, but them coupled with ADHD medication, coupled with blood pressure medication, coupled with anti-anxiety medication, there was just a lot. And I tried to get myself off the anti-anxiety medication too, but at this point, my panic attacks were life altering panic attacks where I'd be driving in the car on the highway and have to pull over on the shoulder to just get out and stand and breathe. So going from that, um, trying to get my, because I got to a point where I was trying to live clean and get myself off everything, and I couldn't do it.
It's hard. Like, and just a little bit about my story. And now I'm not sure if you even know what my background is, but when I was 10, I was sexually abused by a teacher, right?
Yeah.
And that was kind of laid dormant in me for, obviously I knew it was in my back of my mind somewhere, right? And that was the cause of my trauma, right?
Mhm.
And then I didn't tell anybody. Like, to me, like, you just kind of, it's just something that you kind of just push down, right? And you just try and forget about it. But it's always part of you. It's always there, right? And then, like, the same thing for me, like when my son turned 10, 7 years ago, that's when it all kind of came flooding back to me, right? And then that's when it all kind of being like, uh-oh, for my teens, my 20s, and my early 30s, I was self-medicating, right? Doing whatever I needed to do to get through, right? Um, and then when I got married and then I had my kid, like all that stopped. But then he turned 10 and it all came flushing back. It's almost like it started all over again. Like it just happened all over, right?
Wow.
And then that's when I finally was like, you know what? You know, I didn't want to do like the anti-depression meds and all that. I didn't want to do it. But then I finally started talking to a therapist, and I was like, and they're like, yeah, you should probably need this because you have PTSD. And I was the same thing like Tommy. I was like, no, my dad was in Vietnam. He has PTSD. Like,
Right.
I don't, right? And they're like, no, you had a major trauma, and that's, it's resurfacing and all that. But it's hard to like, it does, like, as much as you don't think that the medications change you, it does change you, right? And then I always think that, so my whole life it was kind of like, I'm a creative guy, I like to do creative things, and I'm better at that when I'm feeling my emotions, right? So I was always afraid that, what if I take this medication and it balances me out, and now I lose that part of me, right? And I was always afraid to lose that part of me. But I'm realizing now that it doesn't necessarily change you in the way that you're afraid it's going to change you. It helps you, it makes you feel better, right? It does. It works for most people. Some people it doesn't work for, obviously, but like for me, the anti-depression medication, anti-anxiety medication, it's working for me. It didn't before, but it might just be like, maybe it's just the mental state, like where you're at in your life, right? Like maybe it's not necessarily the medication or whatever. Maybe it's where you're at and where you're ready to meet your depression at that moment, right? Like, are you ready to take it to that step and see if it helps you? Or not. But I think that men struggle with you know accepting that PTSD happens to them. 'Cause, like, like we all have the same reaction, like PTSD, that's not, but I think that, like Tommy's right, like, it's hard for a man to kind of like accept that, like regardless of the situation or the trauma.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been diagnosed with depression and anxiety. I take medication to treat both of those. And in my life, when I've been off of them compared to when I've been on them, there's a complete difference. When I was off of them, I walked around like the world hated me, so I hated the world. Um, and now that I take them and I take them responsibly, and I changed some other aspects of my life to help, help cope with medication, to actually help the medication work. It's been, you look at a world a different way. Tonight I threw on "That's Life" by Sinatra. Just to get myself out of a little funk. And I was like, you know what I need? I need a little Frank in my life. To throw on, Alexa, throw on Sinatra. That's life. And man, it got me right. It got me right. So yeah, I'm a totally different person. On and off those things. But they work for me. I don't know if they work for everyone, but
Yeah.
talk to a doctor, talk to a physician, and someone who knows and who can help you, and maybe that's a path.
Yeah, I think, like you said, obviously when taken responsibly, and taken as they should be, the medication definitely helped me. I don't know if I'll be honest with you, with the panic attacks, I don't know if I'll ever be able to get off the anti-anxiety medication. I tried the whole breathing tree, and the four in, the four hold, the four out, the four hold, and I just I had such terrible anxiousness that I'm like, I don't want to live like this. And I don't know if I'm strong enough, which as a guy, even being able to say that to yourself takes a lot to yourself. But I didn't know if I'm like, I don't know if I'm strong enough to be able to fight this battle with anxiety. The depression, my ADHD helps a lot because I don't get stuck in places too long.
Right.
That's be on the lookout for my new series, ADHD and Me. Check it out on Cole County Entertainment. Shameless plug. But yeah, I do feel like in that regard, my ADHD, which for folks that don't know, I was diagnosed at age 4 with ADHD by my pediatrician. And then at age 22, I was re-diagnosed with what they call complex adult ADHD, which means it's really wild in here. But I do believe in my instance that having ADHD may have helped me get off my antidepressant medication, just because I don't stay anywhere for too long. It just, my brain doesn't allow me to. I'm always on to the next thing, which is good and bad. But we'll keep it rolling. Frank, do you think is numbness a defense mechanism? If so, what do you think it's protecting us from?
Yeah, I think it can be a defense mechanism. And like I said, sometimes I'll sit in it longer just to, keep myself safe from, whatever really is that's causing me anxiety, right? So like, I don't know, let's say it could be anything, right? It could be something, you got a deadline at work, or, it's a decision that you need to make financially, whatever it is, right? Like, you start to have anxiety about that, right? But if you can use that numbness as like a shield for that, like, and just kind of like just deflect it and save yourself that anxiety, it's worth it. Like, I mean, it sounds horrible to say it, but it's like it's almost like when you're dreading something and then it goes away, right? You get to, like, if I always have anxiety attacks when I know something's planned and it's coming up. Like if I know I got to go to a wedding in 2 weeks, like I'm like, oh my God, you know, and I'm having anxiety about it, right? But if like a week before that date gets changed, it's like, oh, a weight off my shoulder, right? So I can use that when I'm numb. I can use it the same way, right? I can be like, oh man, I gotta do this and this, but like I don't have the stress of it. So it's almost like it's a weight off my shoulder because I don't have the stress of those things, because I don't feel the stress of it. I'm just numb to it.
Right. So with being a bigger guy, weddings and stuff, I always used to stress out and get serious anxiety. It's making sure everything fits right. I don't look foolish. And so in those regards, I would get the angst from just hoping like my outfit's right, or if I'm in a wedding, going into the fitting and then picking everything up and making sure it's still, everything's fitting correctly and everything like that. So it's, yeah, I can see that. Frank, first off, real quick, I want to thank you for sharing, some of your story here with us. We appreciate the openness. We don't ask anybody to share anything that they don't want to. I remember the first time hearing that and thinking, and I think I text you shortly after I had seen it. I think it was on Wildfire, or you did
Yeah, it was
something to that effect.
yeah.
Just thinking, like, and to put it in layman's terms, like, the balls this guy has, because that's what it takes in order to share trauma from your past that affected you, like you said, and I was in awe of that. And part of that, I firmly believe, is the reason that we're sitting here today, because I never forgot that.
No, I appreciate that.
When we started this, and I shortly after we started this, I saw one of your posts. I'm like, man, I haven't talked to Frank in a while. Let me reach out to him, see how he's doing. And I'm so glad you're here with us tonight. But anyway, here I am. I'm rambling. I'm off the rails. Okay. Causes of emotional numbness. Alan, what are some common causes, in your opinion, of emotional numbness in men?
Stress, life changing moments. Maybe somebody passes away on you. Or, you change a job. Your relationship going to shit. Just, yeah. I mean, there's so much. When I say stress, there's so many stressors that it can be. But like we've already talked about, trauma can make you numb. Stress, worrying, I guess that's the same as stress. But I mean, numbness it's bad. It's like, how are we doing here? Losing myself. I'm losing myself here. Somebody save me.
You're good, brother. You're in the trust tree here, man.
Yeah.
You're all good. But Frank, I got one for you. So it's extremely apropos that you're here with some of the show prepping that I've done, and I'm going to read two questions back to back. I want you to answer the second one, but the first one is: can unresolved childhood experiences lead to numbness later in life? But how does trauma contribute to shutting emotions down?
Yeah, so so what I went through, like, I literally, because I was able to, like, repress it, right? Um, it didn't my like when I was kind of like self-medicating and I was kind of out of control and stuff like that, um, I wasn't able to pinpoint it to my trauma because I repressed it, right? But now when I'm looking back at the whole thing, my whole life to this point, like, it's easy to say, man, your trauma led you to drugs, it led you to drinking, it led you to, whatever I was doing at the time, right? It's just, it leads you to all that trying to take care of yourself in the wrong ways, right? um I think I've lost the point of the question, but it's kind of just like, because I repressed it, like, it's hard to say for my trauma, like, help me with those feelings. But, like, trauma in general, man, like, trauma in general will, if you're not able to face it, it can destroy you. It will destroy you from the inside out. It'll destroy, first, your self-confidence, which I'm still trying to build back in myself. um Trust in people, I'm still trying to build that back. It's like a lifelong process of just trying to rebuild all these pieces that were shattered, that you never realized were shattered because you were just living your life every day, right?
Right.
So, like, the trauma took away all of this stuff, right? And I always tell people, like, my biggest regret from, obviously, the whole thing was a regret, but like, um when it happened, right? And I didn't tell anybody. And then 7 years ago, when I told my mom, I walked into her kitchen. She was standing there. I said, "I got to tell you something." I started crying. Right. I just started breaking down, and I just said, I was able to get out. I was molested, and without telling her who or when, she knew. She said, it was this time, and because of this person, right? And I was like, "Oh my god, how did you know that?" And she said, "Because you became a different person." I was 10 years old. I became a different person at 10
Wow.
years old than I was that, the day before, right? When I was whatever, 9 and 8, whatever it was, right? So um I always mourn who that 10-year-old was going to be, right? Like, what was that path going to be for that 10-year-old that before that happened, right? So I mourn that. And that's kind of like one of the biggest regrets I have from the trauma is like, I don't know who I was going to be without that trauma, right? I'm kind of becoming proud of who I am with it, because I'm kind of like, doing stuff like this is like helping people, so that I'm proud of that, right? I'm proud that my story is like, um having people reach out to me for advice and stuff. Like, I'm proud of that, right? And I'm proud of the family I created. But I'll never ever not mourn the loss of that 10-year-old kid.
That's such an incredible way to put it,
Mm.
because you're 10, you're developing, your life is ahead of you, and you're on this path, and then something like that happens and it changes the trajectory of your life, and you never know, going forward, what could have been. But like you said, though, too, it's good that you have pride in this Frankie that's sitting in front of us right now,
Mhm.
because I truly believe you've helped a lot of people, and just by telling your story and giving of yourself, man, that's what you're doing. You're giving of yourself. You're putting yourself out there. And I couldn't thank you enough for joining us today, and really talking about this. Our third host has jumped into the lobby. We're going to throw him in here, crash course style. Hold on, where are you at, Fooch? Fooch, I can't get you in here.
Stop
Hold
hitting
on.
buttons.
Wait. No. This is let me see if I can. There we go.
Wait.
Mike Fuji. That's Frankie Donahue.
Hey, Frank,
do
how
some
are you?
Nice to meet you.
quick introductions. Fuji's just coming off another show, so
I'm calling off my own show, which is Fuji's Philly Flair. And
yeah,
thank you for
another good show here on the Cole County Entertainment
didn't-
Network.
Yeah, the good promo right there.
Our buddy Brian Garrity checking in. Numbness falls in line with those who don't wear their emotion on their sleeve. I agree, Bri. That's one of the reasons I never stayed numb very long, because usually there would be somebody there to, like, whoever the person that was my checks and balances in my life at that time, um, whether it was my wife or my kids, or my parents or whomever, when I was younger, if it be my mom and dad or my friends. It's something's wrong. There was no hiding it. So, Food, since we're going to throw you right in here to the wolves. Obviously, we're on episode 7 here, and it's emotional numbness right now. Causes and coping is the show topic. So, Fuj, I'm going to hit you with this. We're talking about numbness right now. Can chronic stress or burnout create emotional numbness? Now, I threw this one at you because you know as good as anybody here what kind of getting burnt out from stuff and things like that can do. But can chronic stress or burnout create emotional numbness?
I would say so. I mean, I really don't admit to this, but there's just some days I get just depressed for no reason and puts me in a bad mood. And, I question myself why to some things. being on this show, putting it out here bluntly. And, it's, you question yourself, why to some things? Like, why do things go the way they do in life? I mean, I blame myself for some things, some mistakes I've made. I beat myself up. I'm my own worst enemy, all that stuff. And, it's the numbness just kicks in and you just shake your head at yourself.
That's why we're here to keep you out of your own head, or at least talk about stuff. Again, I was explaining to Frankie.
Yeah, I think the numbness is like a self defense mechanism. Trying to shut out the negative, but yet not receiving any of the positive at the same time, from the people that your core people around you. You're going through this feeling where you're not accepting in anything, right? You're shielding yourself from negativity and positivity at the same time. I think that's one of the major problems with when we're talking about emotional numbness, especially from your core people. Hopefully, you have core people, um, and a good support system around you, and you can lean on them. Uh, but yeah, that's where I'm at on that.
My co-host from our music show, No Skips, which you can also find here on Cole County Entertainment Network, Jess checks in. She
Tomorrow
says,
night.
Yes, tomorrow night, 8:00. Numbness is a response to stress. Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I've gone through that in my life for sure, where the stress of everyday life can beat you down and kind of keep you there. For sure.
I was going to say, Tommy, it's almost like when your body goes into fight or flight mode, right? Like it's just your mind telling you, all right, I'm just going to shut down because, I need to protect you for a little bit here.
Yeah, and sometimes I think that's to our advantage, and sometimes it's to our detriment, because certain things, if you're not handling them right away, it can get worse over time, and then again, certain things, if you step away mentally and take a break from it and come back, it can be helpful. So yeah, it can definitely go both ways there. Frank, I'll ask you this one. What are the warning signs that someone might be emotionally numb? What are things that you might see in somebody who's emotionally numb?
Yeah, so it's hard to say because everybody emotions are different, right? Like I said, that I'm just normally like just calm and so it might be hard for somebody to look at me and say if he's going through it or not unless you really know me. But I think the standard thing that you'll find in most people is there's always that blank stare, right? There's always something behind those eyes that you could just tell that's like this person's going through something, right? Like you can see it when you're just walking past somebody on the street, you could just see it in their face, like, man, that person's going through something.
Right.
And you can usually, there's probably a couple of signs like that where you could just look at somebody and kind of know. But I guess on the side note of that is like, if you do see that in somebody, it's just important to just say, hey man, how are you doing? Right? Like if you just have any kind of inkling on it, even if you can't tell, if you just have some kind of gut feeling about it, it's just important to be like, man, hey, I'm here if you need to talk or whatever it is,
True.
Yeah, if just sometimes a text message can literally pull you right out of it. If you see a message from a friend, it can pull someone right out of a dark place. It's happened to me. I've seen it happen to others just by texting them. I also try to live life that I don't know what everyone's going through, whether you're in line getting lunch meat at the grocery store, or you're putting gas in your car and somebody beats you to the pump. I try myself. Being from South Philly, that stuff happens quite a bit. But as I've gotten older, I try to put myself in other people's shoes. I don't know what they're going through, so I try not to give people as hard as time because of that. Because you just never know. You never know what's behind somebody's eyes, like Frank said.
No, you don't.
God forbid, you don't know. They could have lost somebody today. They could have got fired from their job. You know, God forbid something happened to somebody that they care about. You know, you never know. So, you know, telling everybody out there, try and live life with a little bit more kindness, a little bit more understanding. It goes a long way.
Empathy.
No, you're right, because I always basically say what Ryan says, and I say it on my show. Just said it 5 minutes ago. Call a friend, call a relative who you haven't talked to.
Mhm.
Like Ryan says, you see somebody going through something, stop and ask them if they're all right, because you never know. I mean, some people go off, they don't mean to, but some people
Right.
just have a bad day.
And that's okay. It's okay for folks to have a bad day, and
Of course.
sometimes people that are having a bad day just need somebody to be a little understanding.
Right. That's all it is.
That's
Is compassion and empathy.
You know, we're not on here trying to tell people how to live their life. We're just
Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
it's asking you to think before you give somebody a hard time. Couple more before we get out of here. This one's flying, boys, for sure.
Mhm.
How does emotional numbness affect relationships? I'll leave this one out here for everyone. Anyone who wants to jump in and answer, and we could take turns if you want.
I think it can definitely affect relationships in a negative way. Like I said, if you're not willing to receive, whether it's negative or positive, when you're numb, and you just whenever I get that feeling, get to that point, I just want to be left alone, which can affect my relationship with my wife, which can affect my relationship with my 3 sons. So you got to, I use music a lot to get myself out of that funk. Like I said earlier, I listened to Frank Sinatra today to get myself out of that funk and that feeling. With depression and with the weather being the way it is here in Pennsylvania, in March, you never know what it's going to be, and it definitely plays an effect with me. But yeah, I definitely feel it can be a stressor in relationships if not handled properly, or if maybe the people in that relationship aren't maybe the right people. If that makes sense.
It does for sure.
Yeah, like I think it would be negative. I think to your point, Alan, it's probably negative in a relationship if the person that is feeling the negative from you is probably not the right person to be in your life. So like I don't know if you guys get this way, but so I disassociate, and I'm like, I don't want to hear from anybody. I don't want to reach out to anybody, even a text. Like I don't want to text you. I don't want to call you. So like I just don't respond. Like I completely shut down, right? But then I feel guilty, right? Because like I said, so when I get numb, it can last me for like weeks, right? More than days, right? And so I'll go like 2-3 weeks, like, not responding to people just because like I just don't have the emotional strength to talk to you. Like regardless of what it is. Like if you just want to call me and bullshit, I don't feel like I'm not in the mood to bullshit. If you want to call me and talk about something serious, I don't have the bandwidth to talk about something serious. Right. So it's just like I just want to avoid everybody. And I think that, and I get nervous that that's going to cause friction in like whether it's a friendship or a relationship. But I think your supporting unit understand and are generally okay with it. Like they know you're going through something and they know how you are when you're like this. But the people that maybe aren't in your orbit all the time, I think that can cause some friction.
I don't disagree. It's your close friends, the ones that you've known a long time, the ones that the friends that I've grown up with obviously have learned my personality, and I'll do some of the same stuff, Frank. Sometimes where it's not, I don't want to not respond,
Mhm.
but I'm my cup's running over at that point, and you're emotionally overstimulated, you're mentally overstimulated. You can't. It's almost not fair to that person because you're not going to be able to give them what they might need from you or what they're looking for from you. Like you said, whether it's a serious conversation, whether it's just bullshit. Sometimes, and you think folks that do this, I'm on a couple different shows, and I love to do this. And you think folks that do this, do they ever really shut down? But it is. There are times, believe it or not, where I kind of keep to myself and I don't really talk to everybody, and I get kind of quiet, and that's I totally get that. For sure. Let's do one more before we get out of here. So is this numbness? Is it more like emptiness, or is it more like exhaustion? And to everybody, like Frank said earlier, everybody kind of handles emotion different, so it'll be different for everybody. But when Frank, since you're our guest today, I'll go with you first. Feeling like this, is it more emptiness or is it more exhaustion? A combination of the two?
For me, it's emptiness. It's just like I'll wake up. Like I said, for me, most times it's not something that triggers it. It's just I'll wake up this way, and it's an emptiness. Like I don't take pleasure in anything. I can't even watch a full TV show because I get bored half, like, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to pay
Right.
attention to anything. I'm just like completely, nothing interests me, nothing, there's just nothing in me at that moment. Like I have no it's almost like you don't have a soul, right? It's this, you're just kind of like empty inside for me. Um but I could also see the exhaustion side of it as well. For me, it's not necessarily that. Um, I think for me, the emptiness is part of the numbness, and where I think exhaustion might be more of the cause for the numbness. You know what I mean?
So, totally,
Gotcha.
totally, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we're all busy, right? Everyone's running a million miles a second, going a million miles. Everyone's got so much stuff to do that causes you to get exhausted, right? But then when coupled with depression or anxiety, um, that can be, that can just take you down the rabbit hole. Unfortunately.
For me, emotional exhaustion is a real thing because my highs are very high, my lows are very low, and I very rarely do I hang in the middle. I am not even keel. Um, so regardless of what it is, because like when I'm up and I'm happy, and I can float that way for days, weeks, months. But then when I get down on myself, it takes a few days sometimes for me to dig myself out. And regardless of where I live on that Richter scale of emotion, it's tiring. And at the end of the day or at the end of the week, sometimes you just come home and you lay your head in the pillow and you're just wiped. So, and I do believe that exhaustion definitely leads to numbness, Frank, to your point. But for me, just how I've lived my entire life, and all of my friends there, they know like I'm that guy that gets excited for stuff and fired up for stuff and pumped for stuff. And that's not an act. That's just how I exist. But it's also very tiring too.
Well, I could relate because if something's weighing on me, like you said, Frank, I could try to watch some TV, but then my heart and soul's and my attention's just not. It could just be on, and I'll just be staring into space and watching
Yeah.
different just different pieces of it at the time. But I'm not like I'm not locked in and your mind's just, you just got stuff on your mind, whatever it is. And TV's on and I'm just sitting in the recliner, just like, all right, not, you just can't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's true. That's true. Well, look, everybody, I want to thank the folks who are tuning in live. Thank you for everybody who jumped in on the text board. It does mean a lot to us. Real quick, and we say this every single show. If you're feeling down, if you're going through something, if you need somebody to talk to, I'm literally Tom Kelly on Facebook. It's me in an Eagles jersey holding my kid's hand. I'm not hard to find. Neither is Alan. Neither is Fuji. Reach out to us, Alan. You always say it. We would rather. What's the thing you always say?
I would rather hear your story than attend your funeral.
Yes, exactly right. And we 100% talk to us.
I like to quote the great Pierre Robert as well. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I'd rather hear your story than attend your funeral. So please reach out to me or anyone that you just talk to.
I want to say this, and I've done it recent. Now everybody thinks 988 is, just suicide, and it's not. It's crisis, because I'm admitting this to you guys on here too. A couple weeks, maybe a month ago, I just had something going on. Wasn't no threats, no nothing. I talked to a lady that answered 988 here in the Philly area. Gave me at least an hour time. Let it all out, decompressed. She was amazing. Thank you to her. It's not just it's not just suicide. It's crisis, because you can reach out and talk to somebody if you feel most comfortable. But when I've done it more than once. I've done it about 5 times, and just you get it off your chest. You think cleared my head. I felt a lot better.
That's awesome, Fuji. That's really good insight.
It's an independent party outside of your norm that is there to listen and there just to listen. And sometimes that's what you need.
I just want people to know it's not just anybody with suicidal tendencies at that moment. They will literally sit there and listen. You could probably be on the phone for 3 hours. Like this time last year when I was going through what I was going through, Tom and Alan, you guys know. And it was late at night. I was living in my old house. Just couldn't believe my life was changing for the worst. And, reached out and had a gentleman talk to me, and, it did subside the pain for that moment,
That's deep, Fuji. We love you, brother.
Love you guys too. Thank you.
Appreciate your always appreciate your honesty on the show, man. You always come with it.
We're all going through something in this life. I mean, especially times like all this, people are on edge. Like the world's just. One thing I'll say, God have mercy on my great uncle, who was a father figure to me. It's not the world; it's the people. It's the people in the world.
Amen to that.
And people are on edge, like what's going on in the Middle East, throughout the world. It's like people just can't come together because of. And the world I grew up in, I believe you guys, we didn't have all this. People had empathy, compassion, common courtesy, which you don't see much. I mean, the good outweighs the bad, but in the grand scheme of things, some people today are just friggin' heartless.
They're not wrong, buddy. That's why you need stuff like this, though. You need stuff like this for folks to see that.
Honestly, I really don't care, because I'll put it the hell out.
We
Not
appreciate
to
it.
get fired up, but it's the truth.
You're all right, brother.
That's
You're
good.
all right.
We got
You
you.
want to wake a sleeping giant, baby.
No, God,
Let the
God
light
forbid.
shine through the dark, Pooch. You're
start
good.
talking about AJ Brown. We'll get you start screaming and yelling.
No, that's for Monday. That's for Monday.
You'll,
Join us,
you'll,
Patterson and
you'll-
Fanatics, live Monday 8 p.m.
you'll see
No,
the
no,
Wolverine
shameless
of
plug,
Brian
sorry.
Dawkins come out of my eyes.
Oh God, we don't want that. Well,
We
look,
love you.
everybody,
We'll talk about it Monday.
like I said, thank you for tuning in, Frankie Donahue. Thank you for jumping on with us,
Thank
my
you.
brother from the Wildfire Radio days. Thank you so much for
Thanks
your
for
time.
having me.
Frank.
I appreciate it. Anytime,
Nice
fellas. I
meeting
appreciate
You
it.
you have a seat at the table whenever you want it, brother.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, guys.
For
And thank
sure,
you for
for
doing the
sure.
show. It's great. It's great.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Nice
brother.
meeting you.
So for Alan Angelcavage, for Mike Fuji, for Frankie Donahue, I'm Tom Kelly. This is a Strong but Silent Men's Mental Health Show, and we will see you guys next week.
In the quiet of the storm, where the heavy hearts are warm, a voice